You're dying right now. Every breath you take brings you closer to your final moment. And yet, you live as if you have forever. You wear masks for everyone around you. You play roles that were written by others. You speak words that aren't truly yours. You make choices that betray who you really are deep inside. And the most terrifying part? You've convinced yourself that this performance, this carefully constructed lie, is actually you. But what if I told you that everything you think you are is just a shell? What if the person you see in the mirror every morning is nothing more than a stranger wearing your face? I spent my life watching people destroy themselves with comfortable lies. As a psychiatrist, I saw it in every patient who walked through my door. As a philosopher, I witnessed it in every society that claimed to have all the answers. And as a human being who lived through the horrors of the Nazi regime, who watched my own country descend into madness, who kept poison ready in case they came for me and my wife, I learned one fundamental truth that can save your life if you're brave enough to hear it. The truth is this: you are not yet yourself. You might never become yourself. And that terrifies you more than death itself. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, even if it hurts. When was the last time you made a decision that was truly yours? Not what your parents expected. Not what society demanded. Not what would make you look good on social media. Not what would keep you safe and comfortable. When did you last choose something that came from the deepest part of who you are, even if it scared you? Can you even remember? Or have you been sleepwalking through your life, following a script someone else wrote, playing a character in a story you didn't choose? Write this down in the comments right now. Be honest with yourself. Have you been living authentically, or have you been pretending? This is what I call existence in its basic form. You're alive, yes. Your heart beats. You breathe. You go to work. You pay your bills. You scroll through your phone. You eat, you sleep, you wake up and do it all again. But this isn't existence. This isn't true existence. This is just biological survival dressed up as living. You're a ghost haunting your own life. And the worst part is that you've become so good at pretending that you've fooled even yourself. I'm going to tell you something that will shake everything you believe about yourself. Your comfortable life, your daily routine, your carefully managed existence, it's all a prison you built with your own hands. You constructed it brick by brick, excuse by excuse, compromise by compromise. Every time you chose comfort over truth, every time you silenced your inner voice to fit in, every time you played it safe instead of living fully, you added another bar to your cage. And now you sit inside, looking out at a life you never really lived, wondering why you feel so empty. But there's something you need to understand about human existence. We all live in situations. Right now, you're in a situation. You're sitting somewhere, reading or listening to these words, carrying your history, your wounds, your hopes, your fears. You can't escape situations. When one ends, another begins. You might change jobs, but you're still in a work situation. You might end a relationship, but you're still in a relationship situation, even if it's a relationship with yourself. You might move to another country, but you're still in a life situation. There's no exit door from the human condition. But here's what most people never realize. There are certain situations that never change. No matter how much money you make, no matter how successful you become, no matter how many people love you or how perfect your life looks from the outside, these situations remain. I call them boundary situations, and they are the most important thing you'll ever encounter. Because these are the moments where your comfortable lies finally crack. These are the moments where you can't pretend anymore. These are the moments where you either wake up or destroy yourself with deeper denial. What are these boundary situations? Listen carefully, because recognizing them might save your life. The first one is death. Not death as an abstract concept, not death as something that happens to other people, not death as a distant future event. I mean your death. The absolute certainty that one day, maybe today, maybe in 50 years, you will cease to exist. Everything you are, everything you know, everyone you love, gone. And there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot negotiate with death. You cannot buy your way out. You cannot work hard enough to avoid it. You will die, and that fact changes everything about how you should be living right now. But you don't want to think about that, do you? You push it away. You distract yourself. You pretend it won't happen, or at least not for a very long time. You fill your days with meaningless tasks so you don't have to face the one fact that makes all your other concerns seem trivial. And in doing so, you waste the only life you'll ever have. Does this make you uncomfortable? Good. Discomfort is the beginning of awakening. Tell me in the comments, when was the last time you truly confronted your own mortality? Or have you been running from it your entire life? The second boundary situation is suffering. Not just physical pain, though that's part of it. I mean the deep suffering that comes from loss, from grief, from watching everything you built crumble. From illness that strips away your dignity. From betrayal that shatters your trust. From loneliness that eats at your soul. From the agony of watching someone you love suffer while you stand helpless. You will suffer. Not maybe. Not if you're unlucky. You will suffer, and there's no amount of positive thinking or self-help books that will prevent it. Suffering is written into the contract of being human. And here's what most people do when suffering comes. They become bitter. They close off. They blame others or themselves. They build walls so high that nothing can hurt them anymore, but nothing can reach them either. They become hard, cynical, dead inside while their body still walks around. They look at others who are suffering with coldness, with judgment, even with cruelty, because acknowledging their pain would mean acknowledging their own. Have you done this? Have you turned away from suffering, yours or others, because it was too much to bear? Be honest. Your honesty now determines your freedom later. The third boundary situation is struggle. Not just the daily grind, but the fundamental struggle that defines human existence. The struggle for meaning in a world that doesn't hand it to you. The struggle to be yourself in a society that demands conformity. The struggle against forces bigger than you, systems that don't care about your individual existence. The struggle between what you are and what you could be. This struggle never ends. You're always in it, whether you acknowledge it or not. And the question isn't whether you'll struggle, it's whether you'll struggle for something real or waste your strength fighting for things that don't matter. Most people struggle for the wrong things. They fight for status, for approval, for money, for security, for comfort. They exhaust themselves climbing ladders that lead nowhere. They win battles that don't matter and lose the war for their own soul. They reach the top and discover it's the top of the wrong mountain. And then they're too tired, too invested in their mistake, to climb down and start again. Is this you? Are you fighting the right battle, or are you spending your precious life energy on a struggle that will leave you empty even if you win? The fourth boundary situation is guilt. Real guilt, not the fake guilt society loads on you for not meeting impossible standards. I'm talking about the guilt that comes from being human, from the fact that to live your life means someone else doesn't get to live theirs quite as fully. Your success means someone else's failure. Your happiness sometimes comes at someone else's expense. You occupy space, consume resources, make choices that affect others in ways you'll never fully understand. You are, simply by existing, involved in guilt. You've hurt people, even when you didn't mean to. You've failed people who counted on you. You've made choices you can never take back. And here's what you need to understand about guilt. You cannot escape it. You cannot earn your way out of it. You cannot be good enough to avoid it. The guilt is there, woven into the fabric of being human. Some people try to deny it entirely, becoming narcissists who never take responsibility for anything. Others drown in it, becoming paralyzed by shame, unable to act because they might make another mistake. Both responses are ways of avoiding the real question, knowing that you are guilty, knowing that you cannot be perfect, knowing that you will fail. How will you choose to live anyway? Let me ask you directly. What guilt are you carrying? What have you done that you can't forgive yourself for? What wound have you caused that still haunts you? Don't run from this question. Face it. Because until you acknowledge your guilt, you cannot transcend it. Until you look at what you've done, at who you've hurt, at how you've failed, you remain stuck in a performance of innocence that everyone can see through except you. Tell me in the comments, if you had the courage, what would you confess? Now here's where most people break. They encounter these boundary situations, death, suffering, struggle, guilt, and they founder. They fail. They give up. They sink into despair or they numb themselves with distractions. They conclude that if this is all there is, then nothing matters. They become cynical, bitter, small. They spend the rest of their lives in quiet resignation, going through the motions, waiting for the end. And I've watched thousands of people make this choice, this slow suicide of the spirit. It's the easy path. It's the path that requires nothing from you except giving up. But there's another possibility. And this is why I'm talking to you right now, at this exact moment in your life. When you face these boundary situations, when you stand at the edge of your comfortable lies and look into the void of your own existence, something remarkable can happen. You can wake up. You can experience what I call existence, which is something entirely different from just existing. Existence is when you become fully yourself, when you stop performing and start being, when you make choices that come from your deepest core rather than from fear or habit or what others expect. But here's what you need to understand about existence. It's not a destination. It's not something you achieve once and then you're done. It's not a state you can maintain permanently. Existence is a possibility, a potential, something you must choose again and again, moment by moment, in the face of everything that tries to pull you back into comfortable sleep. You can't hold on to it. You can't possess it. You can only live it in moments of profound choice, in instances where you risk everything to be true to yourself. And this brings me to something crucial that most people never understand. You cannot become yourself alone. This might sound strange. You might think that being authentic means being independent, relying only on yourself, not needing anyone. But that's a lie, and it's a lie that will destroy you. You need others. You need real connection. You need what I call existential communication, which is completely different from the shallow interactions that fill your daily life. Think about how you usually communicate with people. You exchange information. You share opinions. You talk about weather, about work, about entertainment, about nothing that really matters. You perform politeness. You maintain social bonds. You network. But do you ever really meet another human being? Do you ever let someone see who you actually are beneath all your defenses? Do you ever see them? Existential communication is rare and difficult. It's when two people meet not as roles or masks, but as possibilities, as beings reaching toward their own authenticity. It's when you speak from your deepest truth and someone hears you not to judge or fix or use, but to understand. It's when you engage in what I call a loving struggle, where you challenge each other not out of competition but out of a commitment to mutual awakening. This kind of communication is frightening because it requires total honesty. You have to drop your defenses. You have to show your wounds. You have to admit your guilt, your fear, your failure. You have to let someone see you completely, and that means they can reject you completely. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever connected with another human being at this level? Or have you surrounded yourself with people who allow you to keep pretending? Think about your closest relationships. Do they challenge you to become more yourself, or do they reinforce your comfortable lies? Do the people around you accept your masks, your performances, your excuses? Or do they demand more from you? Answer honestly in the comments. Do you have even one relationship where you can be completely yourself, where you're seen and accepted in your full humanity, flaws and all? Most people have never experienced real existential communication. They spend their whole lives behind walls, dying for connection but terrified of the vulnerability it requires. They want to be known but are afraid to be seen. They want love but won't risk rejection. They want truth but aren't willing to speak it. And so they live in a kind of isolation even when surrounded by others, going through life never really touching another soul or being touched by one. It's one of the great tragedies of human existence, and you might be living it right now without even knowing it. But here's what happens when you do find this kind of communication. something transforms. You're no longer alone in your struggle to become yourself. You have a witness, someone who sees your attempts, your failures, your small victories. You have a mirror that reflects back not your performance but your possibility. You have a companion in the most profound journey you can take, the journey toward your own authenticity. And through this connection, you glimpse something beyond yourself, something I call transcendence. Now I need to talk about transcendence, and this is where many people get confused or scared. Transcendence is not about religion, though religion tries to capture it. It's not about believing in God in some conventional sense. It's about recognizing that there is something beyond your limited perspective, beyond your ego, beyond what you can grasp with your rational mind. It's about experiencing moments where you touch something absolute, something that gives meaning to your finite existence. These moments come in different ways for different people. Maybe it's in nature, standing before something vast and beautiful. Maybe it's in art, when you're moved beyond explanation. Maybe it's in love, when you transcend yourself for another. Maybe it's in suffering, when you break open and discover something unbreakable inside. Maybe it's in silence, in meditation, in moments of profound stillness where something speaks without words. But here's what's crucial. You cannot force these moments. You cannot manufacture transcendence. You cannot follow a formula or technique and make it happen. All you can do is make yourself open to it. You can stop running. You can stop hiding. You can face the boundary situations without turning away. You can communicate authentically with others. You can live in your existence, choosing yourself moment by moment. And then, sometimes, transcendence comes. Not as something you possess or understand, but as something you experience, something that breaks through your limited perspective and shows you that your life has meaning beyond what you can rationally explain. This is what it means to be yourself. Not finding some fixed identity and clinging to it. Not discovering your true self as if it's some hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. Being yourself is an active process, a constant choosing, a continuous creating. It's facing death and choosing to live fully anyway. It's accepting suffering and refusing to become hardened by it. It's engaging in struggle without losing your humanity. It's acknowledging your guilt while still acting in the world. It's connecting authentically with others even when it terrifies you. It's remaining open to transcendence even when you can't control it or understand it. Most people will never do this. Most people will live their entire lives as ghosts, as possibilities that never became actual, as potential that stayed frozen. They'll die having never really lived, having never been truly themselves. They'll go to their grave carrying their unlived life inside them like a weight. And no one will ever know what they might have been, what they might have contributed, what light they might have brought into the world if only they had been brave enough to be themselves. Is that going to be you? Are you going to reach the end of your life and realize you spent it performing, pretending, playing it safe, following someone else's script? Are you going to look back and see all the moments where you could have chosen yourself but chose comfort instead? All the times you could have spoken your truth but stayed silent? All the relationships that could have been deep but stayed shallow? All the risks you could have taken but avoided? All the life you could have lived but didn't? Or are you going to wake up right now, in this moment, and make a different choice? Because I'm telling you, from someone who lived through the darkest period of human history, who watched a civilized nation descend into madness, who faced the real possibility of death every day, who lost everything comfortable and familiar and had to find meaning in the midst of chaos and horror. I'm telling you that the only thing that matters is whether you lived as yourself or as someone else's idea of what you should be. Everything else is details. Everything else fades away. But whether you were true to yourself, whether you had the courage to face the boundary situations and choose your existence anyway, that's what determines whether your life meant something or was just wasted time. The Nazis took everything from me. They took my position, my ability to publish, my freedom to teach. They threatened my wife, the person I loved most in this world, just because of who she was. They made every day a test of whether I would compromise myself to survive. And I learned something through that horror that I want to give to you as a gift. I learned that they could take everything external, every comfort, every security, everything I possessed. But they could not take my existence. They could not make me become someone else. They could threaten my life, but they could not touch what was most essential in me unless I let them. And I chose, every single day, not to let them. I kept my poison ready in case they came, because I would rather die as myself than live as what they wanted me to be. You're not facing Nazis. Your threats are different, more subtle, more comfortable. But they're just as deadly to your authentic existence. The threat of being judged, of being rejected, of being laughed at, of being alone, of failing, of looking foolish, of being different. These threats make you compromise yourself every single day. They make you smaller, safer, more acceptable, less alive. They kill you slowly, so slowly you don't even notice you're dying until one day you wake up and realize you've been dead inside for years. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can choose differently. Right now, in this moment, you can make a choice that comes from your authentic existence rather than from fear. It doesn't have to be a big choice. It can be simple. Speak one true sentence instead of a comfortable lie. Make one decision based on what you actually want rather than what others expect. Have one real conversation instead of a shallow exchange. Face one fear instead of avoiding it. Take one small step toward the person you could be instead of staying frozen as the person you've been pretending to be. And here's what will happen. It will be uncomfortable. It might be painful. People might not like it. You might fail. You might look foolish. You might lose something you thought was important. But you'll feel alive. You'll feel real. You'll feel like yourself for maybe the first time in years. And that feeling, that sense of being genuinely yourself, is worth everything you might lose. Because without it, what do you really have anyway? A comfortable prison? A life that looks good from the outside but feels empty inside? A performance that everyone applauds but that you know is fake? I need you to understand something fundamental. This isn't about becoming special or different from everyone else. This isn't about ego or standing out or being unique. Every human being has the same task, the same possibility, the same call to existence. You're not special because you face boundary situations, everyone does. You're not unique because you struggle with authenticity, everyone struggles. The question is whether you'll do something about it or just keep drifting. Will you answer the call or ignore it? Will you wake up or stay asleep? Will you become yourself or remain a stranger to your own life? And here's the final truth I need to tell you. There are no guarantees. I can't promise that if you choose authenticity, everything will work out. I can't promise you'll be happy or successful or loved. I can't promise it will be easy or comfortable or safe. In fact, I can almost promise the opposite. It will be difficult. It will be uncertain. You will fail sometimes. You will doubt yourself. You will be afraid. But you'll be alive. You'll be yourself. And in the end, when you face your own death, because you will, we all will, you'll be able to look back at your life and know that you lived it. Not perfectly, not without mistakes, not without wounds and scars and regrets. But you lived it as yourself, making choices that were truly yours, connecting authentically with others, remaining open to transcendence, facing the boundary situations without running away. That's all I can offer you. Not comfort, not certainty, not an easy path. Just the possibility of being yourself, of living in existence, of becoming who you actually are beneath all your defenses and performances and lies. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, and it's the only thing worth doing. Everything else is just distraction, just ways of killing time until time kills you. So I'll end with one final question, and this time I really need you to answer. Not in the comments, though you can if it helps. Answer to yourself, in the deepest part of who you are. The part that knows the truth even when you're lying to everyone else. The part that's been waiting your whole life for permission to exist. Here's the question. What would you do? How would you live? Who would you be, if you had the courage to stop pretending and just be yourself? Not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, not when you're ready. Right now. Today. In this moment. What would change? What would you say? What would you do? Who would you become? Answer that question, And then ask yourself one more: what's stopping you? Is it real, or is it just fear? Is it an actual obstacle, or is it an excuse? Are the walls around you solid, or did you build them yourself? Because here's the truth that will set you free if you let it. The only prison that really holds you is the one you've constructed in your own mind. The only jailer is you. And that means the key has been in your pocket this whole time. You just have to be brave enough to use it. You just have to choose yourself. Right now. Today. This moment. Stop deceiving yourself. Stop pretending. Stop performing. Stop waiting for permission or the perfect time or someone to save you. Wake up. Face the boundary situations. Choose your existence. Communicate authentically. Open yourself to transcendence. Become yourself. Not someday. Now. Before it's too late. Before you run out of time. Before you reach the end and realize you never actually lived. Now. Choose yourself. Now.